In this video, I try to explain why most tabletop wargames sooner or later eventually become streamlined. So you hear the term a lot, especially these days. Streamlined. These rules have been streamlined, the new edition. This is a new edition and it's been streamlined. A couple weeks ago, I was in Madison, Wisconsin at a distributors conference, and there was a bunch of manufacturers there, and there were guys from Privateer Press, and they were talking about the new version of Warmachine and Hordes, which is known as Mark III. And I asked the guy behind the counter there and to do at the booth, I'm like, so bullet point it for me, what's the difference between this and Mark II? And first thing he led off with was, well, it's a streamlined set of rules. And at the time, that kind of like, I don't want to say it set off an alarm, but it definitely set off a little bell in my head. And I thought to myself, why do I keep hearing that term? Certainly, you know, Warmachine from Privateer Press and Hordes, not the first game to be streamlined. If you start thinking, even in the relatively recent past, let's see here. Kings of War, 2nd edition. Go online, start looking around. You'll see a lot of people talking about how the new version of the rules, which just came out a little while ago, streamlined. Let's see here. Mercs 2.0, streamlined. That's evidently part of the new kind of thing that they're doing with Mercs 2.0. Malifaux, 2nd edition. Just do some searches. You'll see people talking about how the rules from 1.5 were streamlined to 2nd edition is what they call it, 2E if you look online. I just did some Google searches and just typed in the name of games and then streamlined and would find all kinds of articles about, oh, the newest edition here is more streamlined and this edition in there is more streamlined. Obviously, Age of Sigmar has been streamlined in comparison to 8th edition fantasy. A lot of the people that have kind of complained to me on the comments in my Age of Sigmar videos, my previous Age of Sigmar videos, some of which you can see right there, have said, well, they don't need to streamline the rules. They don't need to do that. And then other people are like, well, because they've streamlined the rules, you know, it's caused me to leave and go to other systems or to maybe join because I've never played it before, that kind of thing. So between Malifaux, Mercs, Warmachine, Age of Sigmar, what else did I mention? Kings of War. The rumors for 8th edition 40K, which is probably coming out in this late summer, early autumn, mark my words. But the rumors that have been coming out have been saying that they've been going to streamline the rules. Why streamline? Why do we keep hearing that over and over again? There are a few big reasons why we keep hearing the term streamlining when we're talking about rule sets for tabletop wargaming. Partially, it's just kind of the nature of the beast to some degree. You put out a new game. It's a new set of rules. People buy it. People play it. They do tournaments. They have events. There's things going on. Years go by sometimes. During that time, as a game designer, you pay attention. You pay attention to the people, to what do people say about your game. You pay attention online. You were never able to really get too much information from your users without talking to them at conventions, maybe sending out some sort of survey. Now you can surf the web and find out all kinds of reviews and complaints and things in forums and all this stuff and mix that in with the other more boots on the ground kind of stuff like going to, you know, tournaments and going to gaming conventions. And you can find pain points in a rules set. You know, people really hate this rule. This rule seems kludgy. This rule seems like it takes too long, that kind of stuff. So over time, as a good game designer, you pay attention to all that stuff. And eventually, when the next edition rolls around, you go, you know what? We're going to streamline that, which in a lot of terms just means fix. We're going to fix that. This currently takes 3 dice rolls. We could technically do it in 1. It would be easier. And then since there's less dice rolls, it's now streamlined. But there's another big reason that game systems, specifically in the last couple of years, I've been seeing this a lot, have become streamlined. And the reason for that, it's not nefarious particularly. I know that a lot of kind of old school, beardy, grognard, that's a whole bunch of words all in series there. But you know the type of wargamers I'm talking about, they like the very crunchy, in-depth rules, and they don't usually cotton to this whole streamlining thing. And that's the very reason that a lot of these games are being streamlined. It's because the really crunchy, detailed, sometimes even seen as difficult rules are frankly scaring away newer gamers. Now, it scares away people who are like Wargamers, but are looking at your system as a potential for a new play. So they're like, well, I'm kind of interested in this. The models are cool. What's the rule system look like? Well, if it's crazy detailed and you need 28 charts to make anything happen, people are going to be like, nah, I think I'll just stick with what I got. On the other hand, as our hobby in general, which is part of the larger nerd culture, expands, the people who are basically the people who run these businesses know that they need to appeal to a wider audience. You used to be able to appeal to just the wargamers, but now we need to spread things out. Things like, Star Wars X-Wing from Fantasy Flight have obviously shown that people who are generally not wargamers, but like Star Wars and like not having to paint stuff, will be very glad to jump ship and play this game, which is very easy to play, yet still tactically deep, and they enjoy it and they will buy it in droves. It's been selling like crazy. It's been giving Games Workshop a run for its money. Take a look at the ICV2 listings. It's a retailer listing you can look up online, and they go every month and they say, oh, hey, this is, the games that are selling the hottest and things like that. Within non-collectible miniatures, Games Workshop's always been the top for years and years and years and years. About a month ago, they got ousted by X-Wing. So my point is, the streamlining is something that the business people are looking at and saying, this is something that will help get our game out to a wider audience. There are more nerds than ever, it seems, who are prepared to live up to that and say, yep, I like space, or I like superhero movies, I like comic books, I like Doctor Who, I like all that stuff, and I want to paint little guys and make them fight on a tabletop. So that's cool. But if the rules are super difficult, they're kind of like, well, I don't know if I like it that much. So streamlining these rules brings more people into the hobby. Now you may ask yourself, what is the downside to this? Well, I don't necessarily know there is one. That's a personal preference on my part. Your mileage obviously may vary. You may only like to play games that take 6 hours and you need a book this thick to get through it, and that's fine. That's totally up to you. To be fair, if you're really into that, there are still games out there that'll do that. And if there's not games out there that'll do that, there's still obviously games in the past that'll do that. If you want to play 8th edition fantasy, Warhammer Fantasy, go right ahead. You and your friends can still do that, follow those rules, go through all those different army books and all that kind of stuff, and have a great time. There's nothing that says you can't. But these companies are looking to get new people into the game, so if you really want to have a crunchy, kind of super, super deep rules kind of system, I'm going to tell you probably to go look at historicals. Most historical games are generally aimed towards people who, they're not aimed towards huge audiences. Historical gaming in wargaming has always been, historically, aimed towards kind of the grittiest of the grittiest, and a lot of those rules can be very in-depth, and they don't have tons of pretty artwork, and they're not very colorful, but if that's what you're looking for, you can totally do that. One of the benefits of that is the fact that you can use generally whatever kind of models you want. So if you want to get into that, you can do that, and it's still out there. So for me, I don't see there being a big downside to streamlining these games. I, as a person who's not particularly into tournaments, like the fact that I can get games done quicker in a more streamlined rule set. Again, you guys may think differently. Some of you, especially tournament players, will find that streamlined rules help tournaments run smoother and quicker. So, there's a lot of different potential benefits, maybe some cons, to streamlining, getting more people into the hobby being one of the biggest pros. And I think that getting more inclusive, getting more people into it is just going to help everybody. They say that rising tides raise all boats. That's going to happen when we have this kind of thing really going on in our industry. So for the people that complain about streamlined games, I understand what you're saying, and that's fine. But think about it from the other angle. Think about it from the businesses who are trying to get more people into the hobby because they would like to make more money. Just think about all those different things. It will really help, I think, the overall hobby. And I don't think you can look at streamlining and say that it's absolutely bad. But you're probably going to let me know down below in the comments, and I wish you would. So streamlining seems to be kind of here to stay. There are still obviously the very kind of interesting little niche indie games that will be very, crunchy and grognardy. But, so let me know in the comments down below what you think. Whether you like games that are more streamlined so you can get more games done, or do you like the games that are a lot more crunchy?